and today we're gonna make a replica of one of my sculptures using cement and using one of my favorite mold solutions or mix. I'm talking about Rebound 25. But let's start. One of the things that I have to say is that everything went wrong with this project. I was ashamed to show it, but the reality is art is not that clean, it's not that perfect like we see online. So for sure, I wanted just to share all the mistakes, everything that I did, so you can completely avoid them. So stay until the end. I'm gonna give you some tips. So let's start. And the first thing is selecting our sculpture. I did my last sculpture is this octopus woman that I actually really love. It's one of the first one that I did. A lot of details, a lot of things that I didn't even know I was capable of. I really love the face. Even if it has many mistakes, I'm gonna have to do something that I will regret, and that is chop it in pieces. And the reality, if you want to create a mold in a replica of a sculpture that is with not only a lot of details but a lot of limbs or things that are coming out of the body, you will have to create 100 molds and then put them together to be able to do the cast and have your replica. The most professional way will be to cut everything, create separate molds of each limb. Even the head, you will have to chop it and create the mold separately. So, and then after you have all the casting in pieces, just put it together. So that's really complicated, a lot of time that I don't have. So I wanted just to do something to really show you that you can create your replica. I'm going to use cement for this project, but you can use the mold for anything. Not only resin, but even food. If you want to do chocolate sculptures, you can do that. I mean, of course, there's some restriction, more healthy wise, but I would love to talk about in another video. And okay, so I'm removing everything. I wasn't sure about the arm. Now I regret because I think I would have keep the arms, have the book just close to her body to be able to do just a simple one-piece mold, which I'm doing. But I could have kept the arms. So, well, I didn't do it. I removed the arms, the book. And after I remove everything, it's good to just try to clean your piece to make sure that it doesn't look that you're removing or chopping things. I clean it. One of the things, if people saw how I did this piece in another of my video, which I'm going to leave the link on the description. In this one, I changed a little bit the hair. It looked a little bit different, a little bit better, I think, in my opinion. And basically, I'm ready. I'm ready to create the mold. The mold that I use, like I mentioned, Rebound 25. I mean, Smooth On is a company that create this product. They don't even know that exists. But I really recommend this product because for me, it has helped me a lot. It's not the cheapest. There's many other ways to create mold. But I just love, I think it's kind of beginner's proof because it really, really helps you to do everything easy and it captures all the details. So I use this product a lot in all my videos that I create replicas. So something that I really love about this one too is that it's so easy to use. I'm going to use these clear cups, and there's so many people that are more technical and they have more time, so they measure and they do a lot of things. For me, if it is clear and I can see that is the exact amount, that's what I'm going to use. Remember, you just have your part A and your part B. So simple. You have to use the same amount of each to do your mix. One color is pink, one is white. When you mix it, you just make sure that the white disappears and you have just a pink color and you're good to go. This mix doesn't cure right away, so I really suggest to do just a small amounts. When you're mixing a small amount, it's just easier to apply. Sometimes what I do is I put on top and I just let the mix to run all over the figure. And then you grab a brush and you start brushing all the details. Now you push the materials everywhere, every single detail. You need to make sure that you go to every single corner of your piece. The first layer is the most important one because it will be the one that captures every single thing. So it's really important that you make sure that you do a thin layer. The thin layer is going to avoid for you to have bubbles, because if you have a bubble, you're going to have a hole on your mold, which also can happen if you have air when you do your casting, but that's another thing. But you want to make sure that you have a thin layer that is perfect completely everywhere. You're going to have to go slowly, do small mixes. Sometimes I will just pour a lot and just be playing around, and even if it goes all the way down on my piece, I will pick it up with my brush and just keep going. You can do that, but it's not the best way. It will take you time, so let's just go to the future, and now I can show you that I'm completely done. Yes, it looked like a monster. It looked like my piece is melting, but that's the way it is. Completely, I already have my mold. No, almost I can just take my piece and do my casting. But the reality is that when you take your piece from your mold, the mold is going to be wobbly. It was gonna move around. So you don't want that. You want a shell. You want something solid that is gonna make sure that the mold stays in place. So for that, there's many materials that you can use. I'm gonna use plaster, not only because it's the cheapest, but it's also really easy to use. So the first thing that you're gonna do is just to put some water in the plaster and start also painting. One of the important things that I can say is just start mixing and creating only one part. This is important because you want to have two parts of this shell that is gonna put your mold together, because having two parts is gonna be so easy just to move it apart and be able to remove your mold from your casting. No, I'm gonna use cement in this one, but like I said, you can use resin and any other material. But you do only one part. One of the things that I forgot about it is that with the smooth on, you don't need to put any release agent on the piece because the Rebound 25 won't stick to the piece. But I find out that the plaster will stay on the will glue itself. Not that much, but enough to give you troubles to the mold. Something that happened is that when I was putting the plaster, I remember, and then I used this spray. There's so many out there that you can use that they will work. But for sure, the part that I didn't put the release is going to give me some troubles later. So that's something to have in mind. And after you have your mold, the best thing is to have something that will separate the two parts. So you can use wood sticks. You can use, in my case, I use aluminum foil, and that will help me to separate my pieces when I create the second part. So knowing that, I was trying to remove the first part just because I was afraid that I was grabbing certain places like the shoulder, that it wouldn't really come out. And it's something to think about it when you're creating your mold and when you're creating your piece, your shell. The hard shell is going to be the most important thing to think about it. And what I'm talking about is that if you have, like in my piece, in one of the shoulder, it has this shape. So one of the problems is when you have your mold, you can go around it. Over here, you're gonna have problems, so just keep at it. But when you're gonna try to remove, you're gonna have to really push the mold to be able to take it out. And the problem with that is that you can maybe create too much force and break the piece. And when we're talking about the hard shell, if you have it around it, it's gonna be just impossible to really remove that. So the best thing is, if you have a situation like this, is just to go around, and even if you don't cover that piece, you can put maybe another layer of the mold to make it thicker and it's gonna be stronger. But also that could generate problems, which I'm gonna talk about the tips at the end. But that's important to think about it, and it's something that happened to me. Try to remove the mold, but because I was, first of all, have my camera, so in the middle, my phone, I lost my camera for people that are following this channel, and now I record with my phone, and I'm trying to remove the mold, and I had a really hard time in that part that I didn't put the release agent, so I did it too hard and it broke. So that was a bummer. I wasn't sure. The reality, the best thing is just to redo it, but I didn't have a lot of time, so I decided just to go ahead and put it together, and hopefully it will work. So I create the second part. Now I put some aluminum foil to separate. And the most important thing when creating your hard shell is that you're supposed to have things that really touch to each other. That's why you have that aluminum foil to prevent to stick. But you want them to really touch each other because you want the mold to have the perfect shape, so you don't have a weird replica. And you can see that when I did my replica for my Ninja Turtle, which I'm gonna put in the description if you want to see it. Also, if you wanna see this piece, my woman octopus. So I was a little bit afraid. I did the other part. I actually also, when I took to take apart the second part, it broke. It was kind of easy just to put more plaster in the other side, and I kind of fixed that part. I could have done the same with the head, but I just didn't have time to dry or to prove that it wasn't going to break again. So I just left it like that. I know it looked like a Frankenstein monster, but definitely I can see that it fits, that the mold is completely has the shape that it needs to have. So now it's time to put everything together, because remember, these shells, they are not connecting, they're not really glued together. So we need something that really, really attach them. Some people use rubber bands. I'm gonna use this tape that I have. Not only was so easy to wrap everything and to make sure that everything, every single part is completely attached, but also sometimes I've seen that if I use like resin, it gets so warm it will melt the rubber bands and it will just, it can open. So I don't want that. So I'm using this tape, and now it's time to do your cement mix. I'm gonna use mortar, and that's basically cement with sand. This makes it really, really nice because it will leave your sculpture really soft. You can see my other videos about cement. I created cement sculptures, and I talk about a little bit more about how to use different type of cements. But for sure, you don't want something that has aggregates. I mean, maybe you do, but we're gonna talk about that in the tips. But in here, we use some water and we're ready to pour. Just remember not to put too much water. It cannot be like a soup. It has to be a little bit thicker, because cement, if you put too much water, it's going to be weak. If you don't put enough water, it's going to be weak too. So if you want to be strong, for sure, try to do like a peanut butter consistency. I've seen people in this type of project, they kind of like to be with a little bit more water, not exactly like peanut butter, but that it can be running. But for sure, just don't make it like a soup. Hard to explain, but that's how it work. Okay, I'm gonna use this box to just put my piece inside. You know, you can do that. It's one of the techniques that I've used. But even though if I had more time, I would have put on my shell, on my plaster, I would have created a base on top. So when I turn, it will stay completely straight on my table, and I didn't have to use box. But of course, I didn't have the material or the time to do it. So I'm gonna do it this way. Here I'm just trying to make sure that my mold is completely hard, that is holding the shape. One important thing when you do this type of project is that you have to, when you're ready to put your material, no, in this case the cement, you need to have your mold in an angle and just rotate it, move it around to make sure that the material goes every single corner. Because if you just leave it on your table and just pour your cement or your resin, there's gonna be places that you will think the material will go, but it wouldn't. It actually will create bubbles, and those bubbles is gonna be holes on your sculpture. Over here, I knew that just because of time, um, my pieces will have bubbles. No, one of the things with cement, if you want to get rid of the bubbles, you have kind of tap on your mold many times and try to get all the bubbles out. You can stick something to move the cement. Over here, I just pour it. I didn't have the time to really go for it, so it's something uh, just to think about. But when you're ready, you just, I put the cement. You don't really didn't see it clearly. I didn't do it really runny. It was more like a paste, more like a peanut butter consistency. But I just put it in, and I'm gonna just wait to dry. I only had it one day, to tell you the truth. If I was to sell this piece or it was for someone, I will wait at least 48 hours to demold. Otherwise, you can maybe wait even more. Remember, cement doesn't get solid until 7 days at least. I mean, it could keep going through the years, becoming more stronger, more if it has water. but at least 7 days. And over here it was only 24 hours. I tried in this mold also, like I said, it wasn't paying too much attention, and you can see that taking it out, this wolf has some bubbles. Like you can see also the mold was so small that you don't need a hard shell. That's only has the bigger the piece. Of course, you need something to shape that mold, but the small ones you can do many without any shells at all. Over here, I can see, no, I did these ones not only because I had the molds, but also to try, no, if the cement was strong enough. And just by removing this pumpkin, I can feel, no, even more than the wolf, I can feel that it's not ready. It broke really easy. So I'm afraid that something is gonna happen, but I don't have another day. I need to do it now. So that's what I'm gonna do. I created my logo, the C. I always try to create some pieces, just mainly not to keep them, just to make sure that the cement is ready, and just to give me an idea. But over here, my pumpkin, I'm gonna be able just to glue them together a little bit more, and it's gonna be easy. So now I'm gonna demold. It was really hard more to have my phone so far away. Really far away, my pieces, so it was really hard to demold. And even if I really tried to do it, the shoulder of my sculpture kind of got damaged, not that much like the first time because I was careful, I knew about it, but still I couldn't help it. It was really kind of hard to go around it. I put too many layers, so it was strong, and the head also was really strong. So instead of having it here close to me to really pull out the piece, I was doing it over here, and it broke. It broke my head. I cannot believe I'm casting, and my piece got decapitated. I decapitated my piece. But well, the point is that we can fix it. One of the things with mold when you're doing replicas is that the mold create this really smooth surface. So fixing, I'm never gonna get that smooth. I mean, with a lot of sanding, probably, but I think you can still see like the cut because it's mortar, because it doesn't have aggregate that is the big rocks. It's so easy just to I grabbed my scissors and I just created a hole in both parts, in the head and in the body, and by the neck put some wire that's gonna be so strong that I don't have to worry about losing the head, maybe other parts, but just a little bit more of cement and I can put them together. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. Maybe I will create like a something in the neck that like a jewelry or something, so it doesn't look like it was decapitated. But I don't know yet. I don't know if I'm gonna have time. Most likely not for this video, but something just to know. Let's go with the tips. First tips when you are doing your mold, when you're using ribbon 25, is that you have to be careful how many layers. Usually I do 3 layers, but some parts, and if you rewind and watch when I was taking apart the mold from the piece, the bottom one that I didn't care that much and I only did 1 layer, I believe, or maybe two, it's a little bit thin. If it is too thin, when you are removing the piece, if you have to really go like in the shoulder, really stretch, you're gonna break it. So that's something to think about it. At the same time, if you put too many layers and it's really thick, you're gonna have to be Hulk to really stretch it and move it. So you need to find a balance. Like I said, I recommend like three. One of the things that also you can know if it is really thin is if you can see your piece, because in a lot of parts of your piece, maybe you're gonna see that it's completely pink, and you're gonna see other parts that are really thin that you can see kind of through, and you can see your piece. So that's something to think about. It doesn't matter if that happened in certain part. Like I saw in the shell on my piece, it has a lot of pointy things, and those ones like the top, it will show me. I mean, I was able to see it, but at the end, I knew that everything was so good that I wasn't gonna stretch those parts, or they were not gonna break. And don't get me wrong, even if it is thin, it's really strong. but it's just if you really have to stretch, you can break it. Another tip that I can give you when you're doing your shell, the best thing is to try to make it the smoothest possible, because if you have certain parts that are pointy, you can either cut yourself or cut the rubber band, or in my case the tape that I use. So that's something also important. So the more smooth that you can do it, the better. What else? For the cement would have survived, the head would have survived if I would have put, and I thought about it, but I just didn't have time. If I would have put any kind of metal, like this, just a clip, just doing this one, even if it is thin, it would have worked. Of course, if I have something thicker, like the wire that I used to repair the head, that would have given so much strength. Cement, if you don't put something inside, like that's why in the construction they put rebar, it will break. It will break. It's really strong, but there's no really good bending. So having like a bone really, really make it strong. One of the things that some people will maybe consider is to have some aggregate that are bigger than sand, like the big rocks. And you can see in the Total Ninja that I did, my replica, how that can affect the rock and really pop out all the sculptures. So maybe that's a look that you want. Sometimes they will create bubbles too. So that's something to think about it. But let me know in the comments if you have an experience like that, what you think. I'm gonna show you the final photos. And thank you for watching. Enjoy art, subscribe. Remember that this is a sculpting channel where I do 3D printing, sculpting, but it's still 3D printing. And enjoy art and see you next time.